Tom, Dick, and Harry are splitting the cost of a new computer. Tom will pay 34% of the cost, Dick will pay 0.40% of the cost, and Harry will pay the remainder. What percent of the total cost is Harry paying? So you have to think about it like that altogether they are going to pay 100% of the cost. So then write down what we know. We know that Tom is paying 34%. And we're going to add that to what Dick is paying, which is 0.40, plus what Harry is paying, which we don't know, so we'll call that X, and that is equal to 100%. So now you have to turn those numbers into something that you can work with in the equation. It's difficult if you have a percent and then you have a decimal. So I'm going to turn that 34% into a decimal. So I know that 34% as a fraction is 34 over 100, because remember, percent means per 100. So that means I have 34 per 100. So I'm just going to, and then, so I'm going to write that as a fraction, 34 over 100 plus, and then I already have 0.40 as a decimal, and I want everything to be decimal, so I'm going to leave that like that, plus X, and then 100% as a fraction is 100 over 100. Now I'm going to turn that fraction, or both of those fractions, into decimals. So 34% as a decimal is 0.34 plus 0.4 plus X equals. Now, don't think of 100 over 100 as equaling 100. 100 out of 100 is equal to 1. So now I have an equation that I can solve to find what X is. So I'm going to combine those two. So 0.34 plus 0.4 is equal to 0.74 plus X equals 1. Now I have an equation that I can solve. So I'm going to subtract 0.74 from both sides. Then I get X equals 0.26. And then if I want to present that as a percent, and that's what the problem's asking me to do, I know that 0.26 is equal to 26 over 100, because the 6 is in the hundredths place, and 26 over 100 is 26%. Okay, so now in this problem, it's the same story, but the numbers have changed. So Tom will pay 28%, Dick will pay 0.32, and we don't know how much Harry will pay. So we'll write that out as an equation. So we have 28% plus 0.32 plus X equals 100%. And then I'm going to change that 28% into a decimal. So I know 28% is equal to 28 over 100. So that equals 0.28 plus 0.32 plus X equals 1, or 1.0. 0.28 plus 0.32 is equal to 0.6 plus X equals 1.0. I'm going to subtract 0.6 from both sides. So x is equal to 0.4, which is equal to 4 out of 100, which equals, or 4 out of 10, or 40 out of 100, which equals 40%.